All right, guys. So we're launching episode 1. This is the intro for the choke point. We have some awesome guests. This is somebody that I've seen on social media and kind of connected with here recently. Just a community of people that are all focused on giving back. Ryan, tell us a little bit about your background, what you did in the military, and kind of where you're at now.
Well, background, I came in the military in 2006. It was kind of the surge. They were prepping the surge for Afghanistan. You know, the focus had been on Iraq for so long. We were looking to resurge because in early 2005 and 2006, we kind of woke up the hornet's nest, you know. So I was part of the big push for the surge in 2007, 2008, ultimately. But I came in 2006. Ended up getting, I really lucked out, dude. I mean, I got 173rd right off the bat, and there was 40 privates on an airplane headed to Italy. You know, got to Italy, got my feet wet. You know, little do we know that it would be, you know, one of the roughest deployments and most casualty-producing deployments too in the war, to be honest with you. But you know, I learned a lot. I had a lot of great leadership around me. I still keep in contact with a lot of those guys. But you know, basically, my military history was I started out in the 173rd. I stayed there for from 2006 to 2011. I was in Able Company during OEF 8, and then I moved to Chosen Company late 2009, and you know, I did a 15-month deployment, the first one in OEF 8, and then I did a second deployment, the follow-up in OEF 10 for 12 months. And then in 2009, you know, I had the opportunity to go to Ranger School, and I kind of got my taste of, you know, a bunch of professionals, really, to be honest with you. To me, it was, hey, go get your tab or don't come back. You know, that's what I was told. It's like, same thing in battalion. I had no idea what battalion was yet. You know, I just knew, when I came to 173rd, everybody had, a lot of the leadership already had scrolls on their combat side. So I'm like, dude, I want to, whatever it takes to get that, that's what I want. So, you know, I went to Ranger School and got my taste and deployed, did a 12-month deployment in OEF 10. And then I made the decision. It was like, hey, I want to step it up a notch. I want to go to battalion. So you know, I worked my ass off, and you know, I got to battalion, went to ACO, and dude, it was the highlight of my career. You know, it was some of the best memories that I had in my life. Like, everybody looks at the posters. You know, when you first sign up, you know, you want to be the dude jumping out of airplanes, kicking in doors, landing on rooftops, fast roping, just bringing it day in, day out. And you know, I ended up in regiment, stayed in ACO for a couple of years, eventually went to HHC and decided that it was my time to make an exit. You know, I had a little girl and a family. You know, things were kind of going downhill with the family, but I had a little girl that needed a daddy, so I decided to get out. And where I'm at now, you know, I started up my own company, Ready Room Graphx. You know, hence the word. We all used to sit in the ready room and screw around and paint guns, and I started a company called Ready Room Graphx where we paint guns.
Nice.
So,
you said ACO. Well, I left ACO about the time that you came in.
Yep.
Paul, do you remember Major Kearney?
Oh yeah, I remember Major Kearney, of course.
Good.
Well, Major Kearney was I was in Able Company at the time. He was one of our COs in Battle Company, as you know from Restrepo. I mean, you call it luck be a lady that I ended up in ACO. I think I call it fate. I call it maybe a couple of signatures and maybe a couple of hey sirs. But yeah, I ended up in the same company with good old Major Kearney. You know, familiar face to see. You know, as you walk into ACO. The first thing I said when I walked into ACO, I say it was pretty ballsy. You know, being a tab spec 4 walking into the commander's office and saying battle hard. You know, he knew exactly what I was talking about, and you know, the rest was gravy. You know, I only got to see him for a short time, but you know, I still keep in contact with him, and you know, it was good to see a familiar face. Even Colonel Oslin and Sergeant Major Myers too were familiar faces for me. Everybody, it seemed like, from the 173rd had either come from battalion and went to the 173rd, or they were leaving the 173rd and going back to battalion. So to me, it seemed like the right choice at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between those two units. I know we share a lot of personnel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was funny too, because you get to the unit and these guys had just come back from OEF6, and all I saw were scrolls on a lot, because everyone was regrouping. They were doing the change of commands. They were doing, everyone was subbing in and out. The only thing you ever saw was an 80-second patch or a scroll. I saw more scrolls than I saw 80-second patches. So to me, it was either like, and it was funny too, because before I had put in my RAS packet, I had orders to 4th Brigade 82nd, and I was like, nah, I'm going to battalion. I'll go ahead and go to battalion. And I had a lot of good leadership then too. A lot of old bat boys. Bill Butler was my BC at the time, and Sergeant Major Ferrucci, who was an old 175 First Sergeant, my major at the time. In the middle of a deployment, train up and get ready to go to bat, and let's do it. Let's take care of business.
So you got out of the military, and did you start up Ready Room Graphx like immediately after that transition? I know, like for me, when I was going through ACAP, it was back from deployment, block leave for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I'm out of the military, and it's kind of sitting around for a while.
It brings it, and what we've talked about too is, in ACAP they kind of corral you around the corporate network, like, hey, you're gonna build a resume and go out into the corporate world, and that's what you're gonna do. You're either gonna go to school, or you're gonna go work for a company, or you're gonna go do contracting. And I had some good offers for contracting. I had some things lined up for school. Like I wanted to go to school here in Austin. Texas has always been my home. I wanted to go to school for graphic design, but I didn't feel like I was ready yet. I needed some time to decompress, and I think that's a huge thing that they don't tell you in ACAP is like you got to give yourself some time to decompress and kind of gather your thoughts and not just jump right out in the corporate world, but kind of, as soon as you leave the Army, the pressure's on. Your clock is ticking. It's like you got to make a decision now, and the decision has to come quick. What they don't tell you about an ACAP is how to be an entrepreneur, what it takes to start up your own business, what money it takes, what licensing you need, what state licensing you need to be able to start these things, or who you should link up with who's an advocate in that area. So Ready Room Graphx really didn't start. I had a good break. I was lucky. I had my best friend who was in the Battle of Wanat, July 13, 2008, we had a base that was almost overran in the 173rd. We had 9 KIA and 27 wounded. Me and him we've had a friendship for over the past 8 years, and even at my low point, he's always came out to help me. He's always been there when I needed him, and he asked me to come to Austin and come stay with him, not only because I needed the interaction, but because he needed it too, and we were both in kind of a low spot, So he invested in one person, and that was me. It kind of saved my life, because to make a transition out of the military after 9 years, almost 10 years of service, it's new, it's brand new, it's starting over. You don't know what to do. It's kind of like, oh shit, one day I was doing PT with the boys, or I was doing this job, all of a sudden it comes, it's not the impact that kills you, it's this. It's the new surrounding, the new environment. It's the self-reality of like, oh, holy shit, what did I just agree to doing? Like, here I am. That's where I'll be. Who's coming with me? Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan. That was me. I had the goldfish, and I'm like, thank you, Jan. And Ready Room Graphx started after that. It actually started with me and him. Smoking and joking on the back porch. My friend Jeff Scantlin. We're sitting out on the back porch, and he brings out this AK, and I'm just like, dude, let's paint it. He's like, paint it? Like, I don't want to ruin it. You're just gonna destroy a gun that I just invested a lot of money into. I'm like, nah, just wait. So we went to Walmart and got our Krylon like we used to in the Ready Room, and I got some burlap, spray painted a couple times. And we had gun number 1. He took some pictures of it and went to school, because he goes to school at UT. He's studying he's actually trying to go to PA school. So he's meeting all his prerequisites to go to PA school right now. And awesome medic. He's one of the lead medical instructors here at Camp Mayberry. But he showed it to a guy that had a prosthetic. And next thing you know, I had a prosthetic sitting there, and he's like, do the same thing. So I did the same thing, and it went from there. You know, it's like one gun turned into two guns, turned into three prosthetics, turned into this and that. And, you know, my knowledge in the gun community was like, you know what, Krylon sucks. You know, you remember painting your gun at the very beginning of the deployment, and by the time you got back, it was black again. And it was like, how do I get legitimate gun paint that is a good product that people would sell on the shelf? You know, like, what would I want to see on the shelf if I were to go walk in a gun store right now with the knowledge that I know in the gun community? What would I do to keep that paint on there and keep it lasting? And not only that, but like, I've always been an artist. You know, I'm a painter at heart. My canvas is just different than others. You know, to me, it's always been, you know, guns, motorcycle helmets, gas tanks for motorcycles. You know, during my divorce, I painted a motorcycle and built one. So Ready Room Graphx really didn't start until I got out in March, and it really didn't start until about April, May, until it really kicked off. And then I was like, hey, we got a good idea here. Let's run with this. Hence, this is what you get.
When you talked about the prosthetic, I followed you on Facebook for a while. You were in battalion at the same time that I got out, but that really struck out to me for somebody who's trying to find purpose post-military.
Yeah.
Like, here's a guy who's not only painting guns, but I remember you posted a video about it, painting the prosthetic, and then what that did.
First prosthetic that I ever painted, it changed my life, because to see a guy that I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of a bullet, and I know I've seen the loss, and I've seen the struggle, and you know, when someone loses a limb, man, it changes your life. You know, I didn't lose a limb, and the war's changed my life in a different aspect. I can't imagine what's gone through their mind. But, you know, to see a guy that was wearing pants, you know, covering up his injury, even though you know he was wearing it because he was walking with a limp, he then sends me a picture of him running around the track with a painted prosthetic. To me, is the most fulfilling thing, you know, to be able to give back to that, to keep supportive in the veteran community, period, has been awesome. It's a self-fulfillment. It feels like you have a purpose again, you know. It's just like when you were in the unit, you always had a purpose. Our purpose was to go kill bad guys. You know, my purpose has changed now. My purpose now is you know, the definition of leadership: the ability to motivate by purpose, direction, and motivation while working to accomplish a mission or improve an organization. Same thing here. You know, I know what it's like to be on the receiving end, so I give back to make sure that they don't have to go through the trials and tribulations that others of us have gone through. You know, and if I can influence one life at a time and invest in one person, and if it's by painting their prosthetic or painting their gun, because to me everything has a story, I think that's a great success, and that's a great feat, and that's how it should be. That's living the creeds and the oaths that we've sworn to live by since we came in. You know, even though we hang up our uniforms, we didn't hang up our oaths and our creeds. And I'm a firm believer in that even though I'm out and I may have hung up my uniform, I still live the oath and I still live the creed.
Yep, I agree.
Hey, stand by. I'm going to grab my charger.
Okay. And kind of talking back to purpose, Paul, I spent the weekend with you, and I want to highlight on that and what that was and kind of where you're headed in that direction.
Well, pretty large groups. You know, ideally we'd be able to take a whole company or two of guys and put them up. There's a guy who does one of the battlefields here in Virginia, and he can put up 200 Marines, and he feeds them, and he has a place for them to stay, and he's got facilities. They can haul all their military vehicles out there and set up tents and all that. So we kind of want to do that. Me and James Webb. He when I got out, he kind of did for me what your friend did for you, Dino. He kind of scooped me up and was like, hey, come stay with me, you know, learn how to farm and how to ride a horse and work cows, and at the end of it you'll have a trade, or, you know, you'll have enough breathing space that you can figure out what you want to do with your life. And that, like you said, it kind of saved my life, because it gave me breathing room. I didn't have to make a snap decision and lock myself into a career or into an educational path that wasn't, my right path to go on. So basically, we just want to be able to do that for other people, and we want to be able, if one of our buddies is having a bad time, or just needs to get away for a little bit, he comes out to the cabin,
he has the ability to get away.
Exactly, and you're among people you can trust, that have your back, and that was the biggest thing for me, is that helped me out so much transitioning out of the military, and it got me off the bottle, got me back in the gym. I mean, there's just, I could go on and on and on about the benefits that I've gotten from it. I mean, I know not everything about farming, but shit, by next spring I could go and start my own farm operation if I wanted to.
Exactly, man. You get a purpose and a trade out of it.
Yep.
A big thing that we're working on right now, and projecting maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, is I want to start a program. If you look at some of the stuff that I have on the company Facebook page, is one of our videos is labeled "Patriots to Painters." What I want to do is, we kind of pride ourselves as being a veteran-owned, but only veteran-hired company. You're not going to get Joe Schmo off the street to come paint a gun in my shop. Won't do it. If you can love me or hate me for that, I really don't care. But Patriots to Painters gives, how would you love to be an ACAP and know veteran business programs that you can go to as soon as you ETS, that are veteran-owned and veteran-hired, that will teach you a trade. So you go and you get out and you come to Texas, and I don't want to just limit myself to Texas. The overall dream is to give it to anybody. If you want to paint, I'm going to teach you how to paint, and that's what Patriots to Painters is. You tell me what, hey, I'm interested in painting guns, or being a part of the Ready Room Graphx team, and Patriots to Painters will teach you how to paint, how to break it down from step 1 to step 10, from breakdown of a gun, stripping of it, making your own stencils, mixing your own colors, painting it, cooking it, and giving it back. And it goes around. It's the same thing with farming. Different strokes for different folks. It might not be for everybody, but investing into one person has always been the key thing. Is when you invest into one person, shit, if you can, you invest into 2. But if you invest into one person, you never know how much you're changing their lives. The investment into one person saved my life, and now I think that if we don't invest into others, we've done ourselves an injustice. We've kind of counteracted what happened to our own selves. Like, oh, hey, screw that guy. No, it's all counterintuitive, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think people get caught up in their daily lives, and they forget that maybe you don't have a farm or your own company, but you can still pick up the phone. Me and Chance do that a lot. We just talk to each other on the phone. Me and my buddy Nick Irving, we talk on the phone a lot, and
I know
it helps
Nick.
keep you going. It's like, but it's like you said, you invest in one person, you got your 50-meter target, and you hit that, and you make sure you hit it, and it's going to pay dividends in the end, and that's been the case for me. I like the they invest in one person philosophy and get them where they're going, because in the end you've created a partner that's going to help you out.
But you know what, and I'll say this too, and love me or hate me for it, but you got to be able to turn the ego around. We've always been the further, faster, and fight harder. We never quit. We never tell you. When I was overseas, I never let my dudes see my feelings. When I was overseas, I never let them know that, hey, I was struggling. I kind of kept that separate. When you get out, you got to be able to reach out. You got to be able to find out who's in your area, who your Ranger buddies are, and you got to be able to connect to a network. Mine was through Brotherhood of the Scroll. A lot of things, happen, and you learn through. It's a learning curve. and it's a learning curve that I want to fix. I want to be able to let people know that, hey, you can go to Derby Projects, you can go to Gallant Few, you can go to Brotherhood of the Scroll, you can go to damn Ranger Barracks if you wanted to. Whatever. If you have an idea and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to start your own business, or you want to follow on with someone's business that interests you, then get on those outlets and say, hey, give the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's all about reaching out. I kind of reached out through different forums to find out. At first I wanted to be a damn T-shirt business. The T-shirt business was going to pay for the gun paint. But I knew nothing about business. I don't. To me, I'm just a door kicker that went to Master Breacher and you know what I mean? Led Assault 1. Sometimes I was on containment. The other times I got to do cool shit. But I didn't know where to begin. I think where to begin, step one, is letting people know what your situation is and what you're looking at, and to point your Ranger buddies. Us as guardians of that need to point people in the right direction of, hey, these are the outlets that you can go to. These are the forums that you can ask those questions. I got a call. I'll leave him unnamed. He's like, hey man, heard some T-shirt businesses. I'd like to start my own. Who would you recommend? And I went on Brotherhood of the Scroll and said, hey, this is who I would recommend. This is who I would go to. These are the people that I trust. This is the people that helped me when I needed, business references. These are the people that I trusted and actually produced. You know what I mean? That didn't snake me. In business too. There's always going to be the trolls and the snakes, man. There's always trolls and snakes.
Oh yeah.
So, yep, and there are many of them, but I think if you think of things as a mission, like I was telling Chance earlier, from the time I wake up till the time my head hits the pillow, I'm all about jackpot touchdown. I don't want just TD, and I don't want JP. Personally, I'd rather fucking kill JP. But if I get both of them, I'm mission success. So if you can wake up in the morning and you have an idea and you want it, Ranger's been trained to get it. We don't quit. We never quit. You have a direction, you have something that you want to see doing, then you do everything you can to get it. And you surround yourself around like-minded individuals that want the same for you, that have your best interests at heart. But the other thing too is like people will disguise that as I have your best interests at heart. So as long as you feel it in your soul, go for it. Get that jackpot touchdown every day that you wake up. Jackpot touchdown. Well, that's all I want for even young entrepreneurs now. Is just go out there and get it.
Yeah, well, I think it's like you said, it might seem like a small thing, but just pointing people in the right direction and getting them linked up with the right resources. You didn't do all your great things in the military by yourself. You did them with your teammates. You did them with a squad leader, a team leader, a platoon sergeant guiding you, telling you, hey, don't go here, don't go there, because we've already done it. And there's no reason that you should get out of the Army, especially now when you've had so many people in service, and not have that network or be relying on ACAP from the Army. Joke for a transition program. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to take entrepreneurial advice from the lady at ACAP that makes $30,000 a year, and the only reason she has that
she was
job
hot, by the way. She was super hot. Mine was super hot.
I think we must have been on a different base when we ACAP, because that was not the case. No, out of that.
The thing is, though, is just like, look at all the great things that have come out of the network, even in the past couple of months. I don't know what's gone on in the past couple of years, but I know some great things. Like John Milmed has stood up Ranger Supporting Rangers. He has a website to where you can send out an alert, and if you see anybody in distress, like a Ranger buddy in distress, you can hit an alert on the website, and it lets everybody in that area know that's a Ranger, know exactly to respond to him, and it also alerts that we get first responders on the same page, as to where if I got the gun cocked and it's in my mouth, and I'm ready to go, I don't want to hear sirens in the background. Like, stay out audible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear, hey, this is, you know, Austin Police Department knocking on my door. I want to hear, hey, Ranger buddy. You know what I mean? Hey, Ranger buddy, I'm here
Yep.
for you. Open the door, brother. Let's talk. It's resources like that I've seen blow up and they're going to be so successful. And you know, they don't teach you that in ACAP. They don't teach you your resources that you have. We've always been, throughout our military career, kind of taught to kind of hide the weakness. Pain is weakness, leaving the body. Trample the weak, hurdle the dead, kind of mentality. But it's okay to be hurting. It's okay to have trouble. It's how you go about that and who you reach out to that will ultimately give you a good result. You know, I've seen. I'm so happy to see, you know, when I'm monitoring these things on Rangers Supporting Rangers and Brotherhood of the Scroll, people doing so well because they reached out. Because, you know, the ego is a hell of a fucking thing, and you know, when you choke up that ego and you just say, hey man, I just need someone to come drink beer with me. Hey, I just need, you know, someone to take me fishing. Hey, I need someone to just take me out to the cow ranch, and hey, I've never tipped a cow, but god damn it, I'll take the cow tipping challenge. You know, you know what I mean? Like it's things like those that change people's lives just like that. And I've seen it. I've seen it to where a guy comes out one person and you can see it in his eyes. It's like that 1,000-meter stare. And then the second that they go home, you look in their eyes and it's a different person. You change your lives just for that one aspect. And they
Yeah.
know that they have support. They know they have a Ranger buddy. And you don't necessarily have to come out and say, hey, I'm investing in you. You know, just saying, hey, come out, man, and, you know, I'll take you fishing with me tomorrow. I got 2 kayaks. I'm only going to use one, you know, unless you got a fat girlfriend. You might need to. I don't know. But, you know, it's all about that support net, man. The VA ain't going to give you a support net. ACAP ain't going to give you a support net.
No, and that's the thing is they'll actually work to counter your support network. You know, you get out of the military and people are like, oh, you got to go work for a company or you got to go do this and go do that. But nobody in ACAP is saying, hey, why don't you go down a list of everybody you worked with for the last 10 years in the military and just start sending emails, start making phone calls? Because if you did that, you wouldn't need ACAP. You would find something, you know. And you go into the VA and it's like you need mental help, and they treat you like an eggshell. When really, you know, it's like you just drove your truck through a swamp and beat down a bunch of trees with it. Like, you know, the check engine light's going to be on. There's no shame in that. You've been beating your body up at war, and your mind is going to pay the consequences too. So, going in to get a checkup and see if you've got issues on board, that's all it should be. It shouldn't be some, you know, you're committing to therapy or, you know, some touchy-feely process. And there's a disconnect once you get to the mental health professional too, because they'll tell you things like you can't save your buddy's life. Well, I've done that before, literally and figuratively, you know, or they say, oh, you're just one man, you're not responsible for all these people. And you aren't ultimately responsible in the sense that you're accountable for someone else's life, but you can make a difference. And I think that, you know, if you just go down the route that's offered to you when you're transitioning from the military or when you go to the VA to kind of reach out and find your community again, you're going to end up being lost. And it's, you know, it's something we got to change. The only way that's going to change is if we're actively involved in what's going on at the VA. I mean, you got to go. You got to talk to your liaison. You got to talk to I forget the name of the complaint guy, but there's a guy in every state, several guys in some states, and you just call them up, send them an email like, hey, this is what happened. This is what I don't like.
CARE Coalition. No one knows what the CARE Coalition is. Man, the CARE Coalition has helped me out. You know, I got out of the military on 9 medications. Half of them were opiates. The rest of them were for PTSD, SSRIs, stuff that keep you keyed up. Like, hey, dude, like I'm ready to go right now. That's not. I want to be on 2. 1 for sleep and 1 for anxiety. Yeah. 2 of the biggest things and the biggest problems that I suffer from. But I don't need these other 7 medications that you gave me to even me out. You know, and the military is notorious for it, man. I mean, I came in I came in the military 6'2", and I came out 6'1". That's from jumping, and I came out with an opiate addiction just because of freaking goddamn neck surgery. But it's like it never fixed the problem.
Yeah.
They're always gonna do what it takes to kind of keep you away. But what I encourage most people to do is if you know what works for you and you know what your major issues are, then fix those. You know, I still go to counseling. I still go talk to psych. I still go to my weekly counseling, my group counseling, and I still talk to my best friend about things that, you know, usually most best friends don't talk about, you know, like things that my best friend doesn't know what happened in regiment. He wasn't in regiment. He doesn't know what I saw. But I still tell him about it, and at the end of the day, I feel better about it by telling him. You know, I learned different angles and different avenues of, you know, everybody's trauma is different. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's trauma is different. We all went through different things, but, you know, we all know the sound of a bullet. We know what it's like to be completely helpless, and goddamn, I'm hiding behind this rock that can't take another bullet, and it just took one. And, you know, and hey, now what do I do? You know, no one knows what to do. No one knows how to deal with this. We're the only army right now that's been in the longest engagement past Vietnam. You know, the only people that I've connected with too have been Vietnam veterans. You know, that I can't imagine what they went through, and they can't imagine what I went through. But together, I think we still have kind of the same story and still the same aspect. You know, and you get in touch with the CARE Coalition. There are advocates there, but we need to make those advocates more publicly accessible and easy to be accessed, and not a hidden secret. Like, hey, you got to talk to this dude to talk to this dude to get in touch with this dude to make this right.
Exactly.
It should be a one-stop shop, to be honest with you.
It's the same problem with the VA. I shouldn't have to call 45 times in one day for a total of 104 minutes. I wrote it all down in my notebook, you know, just to make an appointment with my doctor. And it's absurd, you know, but that's how it is, and it'll stay that way unless, you know, we're in there during the VA every chance you get. You know, you've got to do it.
Or it's like, hey, you know, hey, I'm out of meds, but now I got to wait 3 weeks to get them refilled.
Oh man,
how does that help? So for 3 weeks, I'm going to be a total irate asshole.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can wait so long on the VA. I mean, it's no joke that people die on that waiting list. And I just think, what was it like for the Vietnam vets? I mean, we honestly, I think, owe them the biggest debt of gratitude. I mean, nobody spat on me when I came home. Nobody forgot me on Christmas. Nobody called me baby killer. You know, I got a lot of support, and that helps you out when you come home and civilians say thank you. You're like, all right, good. You know, these guys are on my side. I just had to do terrible things, but you know, they were done in the right way, and I've got people backing me up. So
I have and that brings me to a good point, because what Ready Room Graphx, I started here in Austin, and I'm going Texas wide, kind of what Rangers Supporting Rangers has been doing. I started up Ready Room Combat Veteran Outreach, and it's a full veteran outreach, no matter what service you served in or whatever. It's a way to network and find out who's in your area. If you want to go see a movie or promote your business or resource or network, you have a forum to do it in. And you know, there's females in there, and there's Air Force, Marines, Navy. I'm not too proud about the Navy part, but anyways, just kidding. But it's a resource outlet for people to kind of reach out and get there, you know, and to find out who's in their area, because you know, I didn't get that. I had to go out and kind of search for it. But the big thing that started the Ready Room Combat Veteran Outreach is I had a Vietnam veteran. I was sitting outside at Fort Benning, and he told me straight up, you know, I saw the 173rd thing on his vest. He was wearing a motorcycle black motorcycle vest, and he had his hat on too, with a bunch of pins. And I saw the 173rd, so I had something to talk to him about, you know, because you know, me being an import, and I was like, hey, you know, I was part of 173rd. He was like, oh yeah, me too. You know, I was in this company during Vietnam, and we got to talking. At the very end of the conversation, he told me, he was like, you know, I'll keep fighting for your boys until my very last breath, but I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'll keep going. But if you boys don't understand that we're passing you the torch, then you're not as smart as I thought you were. And that was the last thing he said to me. No, but the thing is, though, that touched my heart. Because if we don't understand that our generation, war has a shelf life, brother. War has a shelf life. Every 5-10 years, we're going to stick our nose where it don't belong, and something bad's going to happen, and there's going to be another generation of veterans that come out of it. And what we need to do is take that torch and keep it lit, because they've kept it lit for so long. They've kept it lit for so long, and we need to keep it lit. And what we do today will impact what happens to that next generation, and they'll have those outlets. We're going to learn. It's like a constant AAR, you know. It's a constant review of like, hey, what do we do wrong, and how do we fix it? You know, they've built up so much for us to not be spit on, not take our uniforms off in the bathroom as they come off the plane. You know, we got welcome home parties and hand claps, and we got hugged in parades and stuff like that, which is all great. Like, that's awesome, but they did that for us. And if we can't significantly understand that we're being passed the torch as people being out of uniform now to make it better for the next generation, because there will be another war, there will be another conflict. And we still get, people forget, how many people do you think in America understand that we're still fighting a war in Afghanistan? Significantly, we're being passed the torch, and we have to keep that fire lit, and we have to watch out for each other. I'm involved with 22 Until None. I'm involved with a lot of organizations that are pro-veteran, and the big thing is PTSD and veteran suicide. You know, and you don't have to do a march or any of those things to prevent it. Like I said, it goes back to investing into one person. It goes back into getting people around like-minded individuals and getting them out of the house and to get them out of their head. You know what I mean? Like getting them proactive again, giving them a purpose, giving them, like I said, leadership, the ability to motivate by purpose, direction, and motivation. You got to find out what it takes to get them purpose, how to motivate them, and what direction to put them in. If we can do that, then we keep that torch lit. And that's what it takes, man.
I like it, man. No.
What do you think about all this?
What's that?
You've been quiet, dude. Quit making me a jabber monkey.
No, you're fine, man. I'm loving it because what you're talking about with the purpose, I mean, that is what I struggled with personally, and Paul has continually been there for me, whether it was the phone call, whether it was the suggestion of putting down the bottle, picking up the weights, or even opening up the farm to say, hey, I know you're struggling, jump on this horse. We're going to forget all that and just go ride for the day. And that's really what it took to pull me out of my situation, and I feel like more people need that. And I saw you on social media for the longest time just continuing to preach that message, and I looked at other groups and I was like, so what is the answer? Like, all right, we got it. There's awareness now. We're aware that veterans are struggling and committing suicide. What are we going to do about it? And from the ruck marches to the outings, like that's what it takes. It takes people that care, showing that they care, not just a simple phone call like, hey, I know that you're still breathing, talk to you in a month, but actually putting hands on. Hey, let's go grab a movie. Or I had some Rangers here. Hey, do you want to go grab a beer?
Yeah.
And catch up. Like that's.
You know what bothered me though is like my first roll call that I did. You know, I always call it roll call. And it's Austin area, San Antonio area, Houston area, Dallas. You know, 3 people showed up, and I went home, and I was so pissed off that only 3 people showed up. And then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Like, what did I expect? Did I expect like 1,000 people to show up? No. But those 3 people that first time turns into 6 people the next time, turns into 9 people the next time, turns into 12 people the next time. You know, my phone's always on. You know, it's always charging, and you can call me day, night, I don't care. It's the same during the safety brief. You know, the platoon sergeant would tell you, he's like, hey, whatever you do, just, you know, let's keep it in-house. like the phone's on, man. Like I pay $100 for this bill. You can call me at any point in time. It grows, man, and it will grow. It has to grow, and we are the people that are going to make it grow. But you know, it's our time. You know what I mean? And it's time that people hear it. A lot of people have switched focus. So you know what bothers me the most is people. I always, even being out of uniform, if I see somebody in a uniform, I go up and say, "Hey, thank you for your service." They don't know that I served. They have no idea who I am from Tom the mailman. But I still thank you for your service. I see a World War II vet. Thank you for your service. I see a Vietnam vet. I see a veteran today, even if he has a veteran sticker on his car. Thank you for your service. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I didn't get that. Hey, I'll go buy this meal for this dude's. I had people do that for me. I had people buy a meal for me. Remember in 2006 when the war was at the height and people used to thank a veteran? They don't do that anymore. They don't care. It's so misconstrued. Well, you know what? People have the whole ice bucket challenge. I challenge you to thank a veteran every day. I challenge you to go see it in the airport and see a veteran in uniform and pray for him and pray for his guidance and pray for his direction and pray for his comfort and pray that he'll make the right decisions and pray that his family will help him and support him. That's what I pray for. That's what I want for them because they're the next generation. I've hung my uniform up. But they haven't, and they're still making the same sacrifices that we did, and they will continue to. Year after year after year, decade after decade after decade.
Yep, agree, man. I think it's important that we make sure that when those guys get out, the conditions are set in the civilian world so that they've got a better shot. You know, it's really disheartening to me that somebody can get out of the military and not have somebody that they served with that's ready to help them out, or some path that they're on. I mean, there's just too many of us now,
yeah.
And we're all combat vets for the most part that served for the last 13 years, so we know this is life or death, you know. And
what most people don't understand too is this generation has been through 12, 13, 14 years of war. I mean, regiment's going on what? Its 17th rotation or 20th rotation? Fucking how many rotations? I don't know. Will Hudson's been on 20 rotations. Holy shit. Like, I don't know. Like, how do you deal with that? No one knows how to deal with that except for us because we were there. We've been there.
Well, and if we don't, we have the strength and the tenacity that we're going to get through it together. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
We've done the impossible together overseas. We came back mostly whole. This is just difficult, you know. The difference is we're scattered across the country, or you're unfocused, or unlike when you're in the military and you start a new job, your paycheck just keeps rolling. That doesn't work in the real world, and you got mouths to feed or you got bills to pay, and you end up not working at your optimal capacity, or you become a dead-end job or something like that. You know, it's a waste. It's a waste of the manpower, because I know what the guys I served with are capable of, and it's a hell of a lot more than just a Joe job doing 9 to 5. And the problem is getting them into it, and getting guys enough breathing room to chase down those dreams. But
the hardest thing for me was, I didn't know how to go about trying to open up a shop. I really wanted to just own a shop. I wanted a place that I could paint guns. And I didn't know about it. Everyone had said, hey, do try GoFundMe. And then, I tried a GoFundMe, and then it was like, hey, don't do GoFundMe. There's too much controversy around it. Started Indiegogo. So I started an Indiegogo, like, okay, hey, help me out. Give me some quarters. And, I look at other guys that do the same thing, and if I believe in their project, especially if it's a veteran, I'll throw my $5, $10. I'll throw my $25. I'll throw $500. I don't care. But, I look at other guys, I just want to be a gun painter, and it's kind of like, nice try, We got to be able to equal a balance to these guys that are actually really struggling. Like, hey, let's put some money into some of the guys that have good projects and that want to start some really, really good businesses, because that's what it does. Veterans supporting veterans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
that's one thing that Paul and I talked about this weekend is I love the mentality that all of us on this call have. It's I succeed so that I can help all my friends succeed, whatever. But I pass the torch on, and I help everybody in my circle succeed.
Yeah, no, my big dream in life is that, I never have to prioritize which of my Ranger buddies I'm going to get to see this year, or, you know, I'll be able to go see them, and help people out, but it's difficult, man. It's real difficult.
it is difficult, but you know what? What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. You know what I mean? You learn through trial and error. You learn to surround yourself around like-minded individuals, and you stay the course. I posted today on my Facebook. Stay the course. No matter what it is that you want in life, if you believe in it, and when you wake up, you want that jackpot touchdown, you stay the course. No matter what anybody says, we did it on target. We did it on target day in and day out, sometimes 2 or 3 times a night. It's like, you know what? I don't know what's on the other side of the door, but as soon as it's breached, I'm going to destroy everything that's in it. Okay? If you have that mentality, it's kind of, how do you switch that experts in the application of violence mentality into something that's proactive instead of being the aggressive drunk making stupid decisions, hitting the bottle all the time? You know what I mean? It's channeling that energy into something positive. You have to channel that energy into something positive. And Paul, I really like your idea too. Like, hey man, did you expect if a squad leader were to come up to you a year ago and say, give me 3 long-term and 3 short-term, do you think that you'd be doing what you're doing now?
No, not a chance, man.
Okay, but so right now, make your short and long-term goals. Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10? You constantly have to do that. It's the same mentality. It's the same principles that we learned while we were in battalion, but we got to do it now that we're in civilian life. And if you do that and you check those boxes, and every day you say, hey, today I got to check that box, and you do everything it takes to check that box, here you are, and that's where you'll be. You're right where you're supposed to be. And you sleep good. As soon as your head hits the pillow, you're good and you're recharged for the next day.
I agree to that. In the future, have both you guys on for another call. This has been awesome, and I'm really glad that we're getting that message out there. I feel like for the longest time I've wanted to put your words out on a bigger platform, and I really appreciate you being on the call.
Hey man, hey, I believe in what you're doing, and I think it's awesome, Paul. I think what you're doing is awesome too. I think that maybe you should open it up more to let these guys know too if they want to come out to the ranch and ride a horse, or hey man, it's all about getting out with the boys again and finding out who's in your community, who's in your surrounding areas, and investing into 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, whatever. It changes people's lives, man, and it makes every bit of difference, because you know what? They wake up that next morning a different person, and they go and hit it harder and harder and harder.
Yep, and that's the goal, to be able to help everybody if you could. But
yep.
Right now we got Chance. He came out and was a crash test dummy for us, and we're figuring out how we're going to do the trail ride thing and the horses we'll need and all, getting the logistics out. But I think it's important to remember that we're not all going to be able to start our own care coalition, and we're not all going to be able to maybe make broad sweeping changes, but a couple beers and some food on the grill with your Ranger buddies, that'll go a long way, man. I've had some cookouts that have carried me for years, and I had a beer with Chance Billings about 3 years ago, and change life, man. It's little stuff, and if you can do more, you got to do it. But I completely. And that's the end state, is to be able to, if that could be like my sole job, to just help out veterans and be a veterans advocate, that'd be great. If I could just put veterans on, take them out. So hopefully we get there, sooner rather than later. But just like you wake up every day, you hit your 50-meter target, and you drive on. Tomorrow you're going to hit 100.
You take a twig off a tree, you can break it on your knee. But you take a bunch of twigs and try and break it on your knee, it's harder to break, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
That's the whole point. So,
No.
you know, a loner with many, we hand down our country not lessened, but greater and bigger than we received it. And that's what I live by every day of my life, is that, you know, today is a new day, and yesterday was yesterday. Today is a better day. A loner with many will hand it down greater and bigger and better than it was yesterday. So,
Love it.
Good stuff, man. Well, it's been great.
Awesome.
it's been great. Hey, Chance, you hit me up anytime you need anything. Paul, you hit me up anytime you need anything. My phone's always on. And hey, dude, I got frequent flyer miles.
How can the viewers get in touch with you? Do you have any social media accounts or anything?
Paul?
No, just our trail ride operation isn't going to be set up until this spring, we think. So we're just keeping it low key for now. We're just going to keep doing personal friends, but you can expect a Twitter page and Instagram shortly.
Yeah.
Probably. And look for we're going to do an invite only rafting trip. It'll be mostly veterans this summer. So we'll set that up around the first of the year too. So once
Awesome.
once we kind of have that in the works, we'll be posting it all over.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, guys, well,
If you want to catch me, it's Ready Room Graphx LLC on Facebook, or you can hit me up direct at Dino Norm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter and all that other bullshit. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm in the shop painting half the time, so you can look me up by the company name. I monitor my emails, Ready Room Graphx. It's graphics with a PHX @gmail.com. You can always email me. I still do the same routine, you know, wake up, do PT, check my emails, get to work. So, yeah, that's how you can reach me.